So I have been part of Patrice and Associates since officially August, but I went and visited her office in May of this year and started researching it back in probably early February, and took some time to decide whether I was going to be a part of it. Talked to a number of her franchisees and a couple regional developers to make the decision to do so. So I retired from PepsiCo, Frito-Lay specifically, in December of 2014 with the intention of eventually starting my own business. That said, I looked at 3 already established businesses, and then I worked with a franchise consultant simultaneously, and he brought me to it, and he has a relationship with Brian Miller, who obviously helps lead Patrice and Associates. So that's how I found out about it. So I joined Patrice and Associates. As I said, I had a number of different ideas of things I wanted to do. I wanted to work in an independent environment. I had, in my most recent life, been traveling between 40 and 60,000 miles a year for the last 15 or so years. And I knew I wanted to do something that was local. I wanted to do something that would help people. My biggest talent was developing people, and I have a passion for developing people, so I wanted to do something that was people-related, and I could think of no better way to help someone than to get them a job that could change their life.
The training.
So initially, the initial training that I had was the virtual training that we had back a week before our training. So I went to training last week and the previous week, and then we had the virtual training the week prior to that. The training in the classroom was outstanding, absolutely outstanding, both kind of the on-the-job nature of it, as well as kind of having all the different people come in and show us what they do, and even Brian's mentorship and Patrice's mentorship in kind of giving us ideas of just our vision in general was great. The virtual training was really good as well. I quite candidly wish the virtual training had been 2 to 3 weeks previous, before I'd actually hired my first recruiter. It would have given me an opportunity to understand more, and I gave Patrice that feedback to understand more about hiring my own recruiter. But it was outstanding. No matter what, it was outstanding. So I assume, and I say that right now, that my lifestyle will be benefited by working with Patrice and the organization, in that I will not be traveling so much. I was literally not seeing my family. I have 3 children, 11-year-old and 2 12-year-olds, and I wasn't seeing my family very often at all until, Monday through Friday. I would see them on the weekends, but I was never seeing a baseball game or what have you. So I led a team of about 160 people in about $100 million business, and often wasn't at home. So this is affording me the opportunity to get back from the gym at 7 o'clock in the morning, go down into my office, walk my son to the bus stop, which they had never been walked to the bus. They'd never gotten on a bus before, because we were dropping him off at before care and picking him up after school care. So now they are loving having mom home, and my husband's loving having me home as well. So my commute is very short. I still work a lot of hours. So yes, I have set some goals for my business. Not necessarily, I did a pro forma out for 3 years. I was incredibly conservative on the revenue side and pretty generous on the cost side. So narrowing the scope of my actual revenue initially. But from a people perspective, I'd like to have 2 recruiters. I have 1 right now. I had hoped to have 2 at class last week. I had 1. I hope to have another one in December, and 2 more by June of 2016, with the hope of eventually turning it over to a manager that can manage, and me just help build the business and teach teams, because there is tremendous turnover in that. And so I would like to be able to teach new recruiters to come in. Do I ever see myself having a large office like Patrice? No, I don't. That's not even something I desire. I look to have up to 6 recruiters, all working from their homes eventually, potentially working in an office, but I hope to have one of them manage it at some point. Absolutely, it is part of what, so being a recruiter is absolutely part of what I do. And that's eventually my goal is to not necessarily be recruiting every day, but to really be solely building the business. At this point, I'm spending, I'd say, 85 to 90% of my time recruiting. 1 week into it, I was doing business stuff as well this week, but I worked a lot of hours this past week from my first week, so it's very difficult to tell that. Do I anticipate recruiting? Absolutely, to build the revenue and build the cash flow, yes. I anticipate recruiting well into next year, and then hopefully by middle of next year, I would hope that I can kind of back away and really focus on solely on client development. So I actually, just in speaking to somebody this week, I feel like there is some things we do special in taking time to get to know people. So we do a pretty comprehensive interview, if you will, of folks. And last week I connected in training on the last Thursday of training, I connected with some people from one organization. And that one person gave me 3 people, who gave me 3 more people, now I think the stream's up to 15 or 16 people, of which 3 are definitely not interested, but 13 people are interested as a result of that. And it was one person calling the next person and saying, hey, she's for real. And it's funny because probably 3 days later, Monday or Tuesday of this week, he asked me, how long have you been doing this? And I said, can I be honest with you? About 9 days. And he was really surprised because I connected with him. And this particular person, he just recently got married. His wife is potentially accepting a job down in North Carolina as a professor down in North Carolina. And he's really grateful that even if she doesn't get that job, that I can potentially get his life better. So he's working very long hours. He worked 8 a.m. to 3 a.m. one day last week as a general manager of a very high volume restaurant. And he never sees his wife of 1 month. And certainly I can relate to that. And he was very grateful that I've given him an opportunity to go work for a company that is only open till 2:30 in the afternoon. And the idea of him being able to tell his wife that I can be home by 4:30, even if I'm working a lot of weekends, I know I'm going to be home by 4:30. That's pretty special. It's pretty special. And it was all because of the intake of the information that I really he said I really listened to what he was looking for, is looking for better hours and better, a better work-life balance for him because he's just, married his new wife.
No?
I don't really have it. Ask me again in a month if I have any advice, and potentially I do. I thought long and hard. In fact, I pushed back on Patrice and said, don't call me for a couple of weeks because I wanted to make sure for me that this was right for me, because talking on the phone is not my idea of fun. I'm a people person. I tend to be, animated with my people and, pat them on the back, and that doesn't always come through on the phone. And I actually called my people that used to work for me and said, what do you think about this, me doing this? And most of them gave me feedback, said, you've always said you hate talking on the phone. When I conducted my weekly one-to-ones with them, I had 3 different locations, so often they were on the phone. So I started driving to locations every other week. Every 3rd week I was in their location to conduct their one-to-ones in person, so I wasn't always on the phone with them. And my own team was like, this is a stretch for you being on the phone. And it's turned out to be not bad at all. In fact, last week I admitted that, cold calling stores, not a problem for me at all. That was surprising. But so I actually pushed back against Patrice, don't call me for a few weeks, because I needed to kind of understand from my perspective whether I can see myself doing this, because I knew I was going to have to build my business and build the cash flow of my business by doing that role. It's been the biggest surprise, quite candidly, is that I've enjoyed it. I won't even say I didn't think I would enjoy it, and I'm actually completely enjoying it.